just have to think of a place where he could have taken the body.
Where'd you take her? I mean, she died in the cabin, right?
Yeah.
So where'd you take her to clean her up?
You don't want to think about that, Will. This is tough enough for you already.
Well, it was an accident, right?
Yeah. I didn't mean to kill her, Will. You know that, don't you?
And that was a clip from the 2002 release Insomnia, directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Al Pacino and Robin Williams. This is Movies the Podcast, and I'm Rob.
This is Brenda.
This is Curtis.
And this is Jordan.
Well, guys, let's play a little catch-up before we get to our topic.
What are we catching up on?
It's been a while, so we're all kind of out of it.
Well, I recently watched The Bling Ring.
She gets right into it.
I'm excited about
What
this.
did you think?
I liked it. I mean, this is all except for Somewhere, which I haven't seen.
It's not good.
I've pretty much seen all her films. Pretty much seen all of her films. Somewhere didn't get a good rap. I still have to watch it, so I can't tell you what I think. But I like this one, and the story, and I mean, it's based on real life and just how she presented and everything.
Yeah, I love Sofia Coppola. I think we talked about this, how much I was gonna call you Rob, how much Jordan hates her. I really adore her. I think she's great, but all the things that people think bad about her, that's what Somewhere is.
Oh.
So it's like the slow,
I'm going to run out and get that. I want to have a Terrence Malick, Sofia Coppola film festival.
Honestly, it's kind of like that. I mean, but
While I'm bleeding
excited
in a
for the Bling
bathtub
Ring.
so it doesn't clot.
Such sweet imagery.
Drama queen.
Sorry.
So that explains why they do it in the bathtub. I never knew that.
Oh, blood doesn't clot underwater.
I got
I learned one thing in nursing school.
Oh, that's right.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Like that's the one thing that you.
For those of you who are curious,
Well,
just in case.
Curtis and I ran into a young fella who loved that movie, and he felt that it spoke to him. Bling Ring.
Bling Ring.
He felt it spoke to him because I'm a child of the
2000s.
2000s.
Of the aughts.
That makes me vomit. I'm sorry.
He's not a child of the 2000s, by the way, but he sure thought he was. So
Did he kind of realize it was almost
No, because
kind
he's
of
not smart
putting
enough.
these people on display? I don't think a lot of people realize that because
They're self-involved.
yeah, exactly.
He put it on the same pedestal as Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Does he realize Mean Girls is a comedy?
No, maybe not to him. He thinks it's a Bible.
Like, oh my god, this is my life.
I did have a good comeback for him, but anyways, trust me, he didn't get by unscathed.
I want to see it, but at the same time, I don't know. She's been hit or miss with me, but and I don't think we've mentioned her name, Sofia Coppola.
Yeah.
Her wine is fantastic, by the way. I drink her wine.
He drinks any
the
wine.
little cans.
Well, no, that one is more like her white wine. She has a rosé. Her dad gave the children vineyards as gifts, so like.
Mine did too.
No, so if they.
I got one for my bar mitzvah.
So like if they were ever like broke, they would have a vineyard to support themselves. It's kind of a nice gift.
I think so. I wouldn't turn down a vineyard.
For real?
Did Nicolas Cage get one?
No, because he's her cousin.
Oh.
He's
And he
so
changed his
bad.
last name.
And he's terrible.
That's why he has to keep doing all those movies, because he didn't get a vineyard.
There you go.
So is that why Roman Coppola waits 15 years to make his movies?
Oh, that's right.
That vineyard's doing well.
That vineyard, maybe his is.
He's walking in tall grapes.
I watched a kind of interesting movie the other night. I was really excited. It was called The Seventh Victim. Sometimes you put things on your Netflix queue, and I don't reorder it. I just see whatever comes next comes next. And
I should try that.
it's kind of fun. Like you never know, because do you ever get that Netflix anxiety where you're like, oh my god, what am I getting next? And I gotta do my list, and I go, oh, this one's very long wait, and so I just like whatever comes my way comes my way. So it's called The Seventh Victim. I'm totally forgotten the director, Val Newton, whatever. But it's from the 40s. It's a horror movie, and I'll say this: it's not as good as I wanted it to be, but for its time, it was really good. And it's about a sister who at her school, they very curtly tell her that her tuition has not been paid and her sister's missing, and you have to start working for your tuition. And she's like, well, can I look for my sister? And they're like, go ahead. But so she goes to look for her sister, and everybody knows of her sister, but nobody knows where she is. And they know the sister was involved with some group, but they don't know what the group was. And she starts meeting people in the group, and they're weirdos. And it did a lot with shadows. It did a lot with, excuse me. It did a lot with, it was very effective for the time. It was definitely interesting. But, yeah, I'd be interested to see if Jenny saw it. I didn't want to see.
It's funny that you mentioned that about Netflix. When I had it,
Uh-huh.
there would be some times where I get a movie and I was like, when the hell did I order this and what the hell was I thinking?
I do it all the time. And Rob has a good theory. Like, if you're not going to watch it in the first couple of days, just send it back. Like, you're not going to watch it.
Yeah, that's true, because I've held on to a movie for weeks and not watched it. And then finally it was
You
just
have
so-
that guilt. You're just like, oh, I'm
I
paying for
ordered
this.
this.
Yeah. No.
Netflix is playing a larger role in your personal life than it is in mine.
It's like the
I don't have emotional relationships with Netflix.
I do. I get upset. Like, why is it suggesting this to me? What did I watch that you would tell me to watch New Girl? Like,
That does drive me crazy. I'm like, I don't want to watch this crap.
and like, it's like your top 10. It's like The Wonder Years, Ally McBeal. Like, I'm like, why?
And their
want me to watch
and their
this?
suggestions don't go like IMDb. Like, if you search for things, like it'll tell you like people who liked this movie also liked this movie. Sometimes they don't make sense. Like, I don't feel the people that watch the original MASH are watching, you know, Mean Girls. Like, it's just like two movies that don't go together at all.
Yeah. I'm gonna look at that.
Their algorithm's a little warped.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of excited to watch it. So it was interesting. It's worth checking out.
Speaking of things that are not worth checking out, I saw White House Down.
I'm excited
I
about
wrote a strongly worded email to President Obama about allowing this movie to occur
Did you
on
hear
his watch.
what Sony's doing tomorrow? Or, I mean, for the 4th of July?
What?
They're, anybody who wants to come see the film, they can come in. If they're in the active military, they can get in free.
It's
love
interesting
that.
because this movie makes people who are in the military look like morons.
Oh, really?
It takes... I don't even know. I can't even boil it down to 15 words of what it does, but it takes everything about the United States and boils it down to its most pedantic level, to use our word of the day. The acting is horrible. The writing is horrible. Just the fact-checking, like, nobody has Wikipedia that could actually, like, look up, you know, search terms like the Secession Act or things like... It just... And I am a sucker for any movie that takes place in the White House. I am a huge... And that's the reason I wanted to see it. And on
You're a
one...
stickler for
Did you think it
history
was going to be
facts.
the West
Oh, yeah.
Wing? I don't know.
No, exactly. But even on the West Wing, I get upset when things are incorrect. You know, I feel
Historically
like there are
inaccurate.
things that you know, you kind of take a poetic license with, and you don't have to exactly have everything exactly the way it is in reality. But there's some things that are so glaringly wrong, like the order of succession to the presidency and how that the 25th Amendment actually works. Is kind of we're playing fast. It's a movie about the 25th Amendment, so let's read it.
They're playing fast with these facts.
Oh my goodness.
So is it kind of like, you know how Die Hard was like an action, but it still had a sense of humor? Were they trying to do that?
They were trying to make like Rush Hour happen with Die Hard, with Independence Day. It was trying to be, because it's by Roland Emmerich, and so you know it mentions, they talk about Independence Day. That was like kiss of death right there. But they it was trying to go for that like silly.
Did he write and direct it?
He directed.
it wrote
I don't know
itself.
if he. I think
His
that
cat.
I think that second graders across Kentucky submitted pages and they just put them all together in order.
Funny enough, whenever the
But-
trailer came out, I didn't realize that Jamie Foxx was playing the president. It looked kind of like a buddy.
Entertainment Weekly
Yeah.
said it. His acting. He should know his acting is terrible.
What's
in
interesting,
this.
what happens when, and there are a lot of these movies where you take all these really good, because Richard Jenkins is in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Maggie Gyllenhaal. But, you know, Channing Tatum, who I like, and, you know, he's good at what he does. You know, but Jamie Foxx, and you've got, you know, it's a misogynistic movie. There are 3 speaking female parts, and they're all simpering idiots. The use of the child. I mean, it's just, it takes everything that's wrong about movie making right now and puts an American flag on it and says, "Hoorah, America."
But that's how his films are. If you look at his last films.
I know. and
I
it's just-
like some of his
2012.
films.
I mean, but on the other hand, though, seeing, you know, the Capitol building explode, you know, there
How many
are
times have we seen
cool images, and that's what was cool about it was the only thing cool about 2012 was the CGI, and the CGI was pretty cool, and it's on a level, you know, a movie can be enjoyable but not good. I enjoyed it. I stayed awake. I
2012 or White House Down?
both, but not good movies.
Yeah, I
at
think all
all.
his movies are interesting.
And-
Get your hands off my Jordans! Freeze! action!
Maggie Gyllenhaal should have to go on a tour of the United States and apologize for this movie. Apologize.
Do you know, Roger Ebert, who I loved, said something about, in reference to Kill Bill, and he said, performances in these kind of movies don't win awards, but because they're usually not good, but like in Kill Bill, that's a good performance in an action movie. And an action movie sometimes is harder to create good, well-rounded acting and characters. And when you create a good one, it's great. Like World War Z a couple months ago. If you create like good acting, timelines. If you create good characters, it could be better. It could elevate it, and that's why I think elevated Die Hard is Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman.
And there are some really good performances in that, and it's charming, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, which is what White House Down does. It really
And I think
shouldn't.
maybe it's those financing this film should realize in this day and age, CGI can't hold a film anymore. I was rewatching The Day After Tomorrow the other day, and it's just...
Is it still good?
No. It doesn't hold up at all.
I liked it when it first
I
came
did
out.
too. I love 2012.
But CeeLo Ward is in it, and she brings good things to everything she does.
She is in it.
She is in it, yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal's in it.
But talk about what you just mentioned. One of the films that I recently saw was World War Z. Have you seen World War Z?
No, I haven't.
You will love it. It's fantastic.
I've seen it twice, and it holds up. I think it's a fantastic thriller.
I think it's interesting that everyone I know that's seen it has either loved it.
Oh, we were
or
talking about this, weren't
freaking
we?
hated
Who
it.
hated it though?
No, I know a lot of people that have
who
hated
love
it.
the book.
I've never met one person who hated it.
I know people that didn't read
he
the
makes
book.
a good point. Well, she makes a good point. People who love the book hate the movie because they only share the title.
Literally.
Yeah.
So the film, it just strays so much from what I've been told.
The spirit
from
of the book. Yeah.
But I haven't read the book, and to me, as a thriller, it worked. I thought it was an effective film. I love the mystery behind it, and even when it got to the big rewrite at the end, it all worked for me.
Isn't so? Is it a graphic novel?
No, it's a novel.
It's a novel. Oh, okay. I was trying
And
to
it's pretty-
warn people against do you want to see Watchmen again? Like, should it be that accurate to the book?
It's pretty adored by the fans of the book. Like, the book is pretty
At the height of the zombie.
Yeah.
But that's what I liked about it before it came out. I was like, I hope this movie puts an end to zombies because I'm over that. Like, it's like and what World War Z did, which is kind of because of the rewrite, it changed the zombies from these growling, running monsters to more like what's the word for it? They were more of a benign beast towards the end. Like, you just didn't want to wake them. And that was scarier and more interesting than them running and barreling over each other for the first hour and a half. Still scary, but it was much more effective in the end when they were, like, creeping along.
Well, the criticism, I think, of World War Z book versus movie is that the movie sanitizes out the social commentary that was such the heart of the book.
Fair enough. There's two
It's
separate
PG-13,
mediums, though.
yeah.
There's two separate mediums. You can't... Was it you that I was saying nothing that gets adapted is ever going to be faithful to the book? Granted, this one completely
Some
veered
things
off
Yeah.
from the book.
Some things are.
And some things can.
Some things can be.
And there are some things that give you a new perspective on the book. And, the movie or the TV miniseries or whatever gives you some added depth to the experience you had with the book. I think that's what people love about Game of Thrones, is that this is a really beloved book series. And people who love the book love the show.
Even though it's different.
But they do know nerds love to... I know I do. I love to obsess over... Just like White House Down, I love to obsess over what they got wrong and all of those things. I mean, that's part of the fun. But, are you all right?
Sorry.
Okay.
I needed a drink of water.
Curtis was drowning.
But I think... And I've heard a lot of people that have read the books, the Game of Thrones series, the books, say that the series takes those stories and adds different dimensions, and it really adds to the universe.
That's a good
of that
point.
book.
Justin's reading them, and he said... The spoiler alert, something big happened at the second to last episode. Is that the penultimate?
Penultimate.
The characters that died don't die in the book. And one of the characters is still alive in the book that was murdered. And so it's, things change, but that's wonderful.
And I think Jordan's argument is completely fair. I think if you were a fan of the World War Z book and you're excited about the adaptation, I think from a studio point, they said, okay, we have this on our hands. How can we make this work? It didn't turn out the way we wanted, and I'm sure Brad Pitt originally, when he optioned the book to produce it,
One of the social commentary.
That's what was his appeal to starting the movie. But that changed. That all went a different direction. But as a movie, I liked it. I think it was a lot of fun.
I remember when I saw it, I thought of you instantly because one of my favorite zombie films is Return of the Living Dead, and I know how you hate like running zombies. Is that you?
Yes.
So when I saw this, I was like, Rob's gonna hate the running
But
zombies.
it didn't scare me. That didn't scare me. I like what is it? Dawn of the Dead. Anytime there's running zombies, it freaks me out. But what freaked me out about
Really? When they're running?
when they're
As opposed
running.
to like inching their way to you, like you
So
have a
not the
chance.
Walking Dead zombies, the 28 days later.
Yeah, exactly.
Zombies, yeah.
But what I really, the thing that I love the most about World War Z, it's just the mystery, how they took it. They're like, what happened? How on a global scale this happened so quickly? You look at 28 Days Later, it was all seen from that perspective. But obviously, it's like the entire city was taken over. But you take a step back. Oh, sorry. If you take a step back, how it was on a global scale, and I think that's what.
But even
thought it
with
was-
28 weeks later, took a more, took it a little wider and took
Right.
it into the city.
You okay?
Rachel, sweetheart.
Rachel, you hurt?
Honey.
Are you okay? It's okay. Everybody out of the car. You gotta get off the street.
What is that, Terry? What is that?
But no, I think World War Z, it's not the best picture of the year.
I
But it's
heard
an
it-
effective little
I heard
little
it
piece
called
of
the
work.
Contagion of zombie movies. Like it was compared to Contagion. I haven't seen it. I don't
Contagion's
know how
pretty
what that
dry.
how that comparison is.
It was good. When we started watching it, like I had no expectations. I sort of just sat down and said, okay, well, whatever happens, happens. And with action movies, I can always tell probably how smart they are, and this is going to sound really plain, but with what they do with their female characters. And the first scene is the generic family waking up like, "Boo, sleep in our eyes, pancakes, ooh, somebody better clean up." And the next scene is it's
Pretty much played out like that.
just like that. And the second scene, it just goes into it. And the wife is smart and she's helpful.
I love that
and
actress
she's
too. I
she's
forget
from
her name.
Houston.
Is she really?
Her mom's a French teacher here.
I didn't know that. And
Justin's French teacher is her mother.
She's great on The Killing. On
She's on
AMC.
Big Love.
Yeah.
She is fantastic in the movie.
In subtle
there's
ways.
there's moments where whenever the young daughter's having an asthma attack and she's missing her insulin, the way she looks back
Inhaler.
and inhaler, the way she looks at Brad Pitt, like, what are we doing? Like, it just her reaction.
She's
I
a-
like
She was
that.
like a military wife when they had their discussions
She
about him
wasn't
leaving.
Just, she wasn't just
Background.
casted as a background
No,
person.
she was cast as
Yeah,
like
that's
a
one thing
character.
you notice instantly because they go from taking the daughters to school to like bam, survival mode,
Yeah.
and that's like not everybody's normal reaction. Like if you think of something of 28 days later,
Yeah.
when he wakes up in the hospital and he's kind of like, oh shit, what do I do now? But
Yeah.
it was a different take. But
I'm curious to see what you think.
I want to see it. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I want to see it.
I loved it. I had a lot of it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
Like you're 10
Oh.
minutes in. That little scene, them getting up, getting ready for the day. That's it. From there on, it's just.
I do want to see World War G, the gay marriage parody. I wish that was a real movie. The trailer.
I haven't seen it.
There's a trailer floating around on YouTube that's World War G, and it's a conservative fever dream about gay marriage and
we're,
how
like,
the
running
gays
to
are
get
gonna.
them.
And Brad Pitt's like running from the gays.
I
and
think I've seen it.
it's just the movie. It's hilarious.
Maybe it was
though.
didn't we
real-
see another one years ago called Gay Zombies? Where like
Not a
people
living gay.
Brain.
Night of the Living Gays, brains. I mean, penis.
Excuse me. Can I bring this to a screeching halt? Last night I posted, if Brad Pitt started a zombie musical, would it be titled World War Glee?
Anyway,
Oh my!
why do we keep giving
We've
him
not
a
introduced
microphone?
Stan.
Stan Christmas. He is our producer.
Stan Christmas.
He's got a flask. Come sit on Uncle Stan's knee. Little girl, I'm 17.
Well,
This is Stan.
let's bring into the topic.
what
of
are we?
today.
What are we talking about today, Rob?
Our topic
Gay
today,
zombies.
Gay zombies. Our topic is remakes.
Should they be able to marry?
Are they alive? Anyways, go on with that.
Are they alive? We've always talked about the pros and cons, or what we like and dislike about remakes, and we thought it was an appropriate topic conversation. I think it seems like a very spirited one for us because some of us like it or are okay with it. I'm of the fan of this guy. He might steal the words right out of his mouth, but saying If they want to remake it, they can remake it. You know, if the good one was good enough to be remade, why not? It'll just show how good the original was if they fail.
You're so wrong.
Well,
I have to disagree.
the reason we
It's a horrible way to look at the
no,
world.
the reason that we are doing remakes.
I hope I paraphrased that just fine.
For real. The reason we're doing remakes is in October we're getting the remake of Carrie,
An Old Boy.
and the French crime thriller Love Crime Made into Passion. Terrible film.
And if you want to consider Blues Jasmine, which is based on
Streetcar Named Desire. So that'll be, But no, what I was saying
that's
to
the
Rob.
Woody Allen movie. Blue Jasmine.
I'm so excited. What I was saying to Rob was, and I always say this, I don't care. It's like if someone's going to be like, I can paint better than Da Vinci. Okay, well, repaint the Mona Lisa and let's see how it looks. I don't care. Do it. Waste your money. If it's terrible, it's terrible. And there's some experiments like Psycho, which the remake was exactly the same. But like a play, when you use different actors, you get different
Nuances.
Yeah, you're informed differently in character. Like Psycho's a really good example because it's a classic. But why not remake it? I mean, let's see if the dialogue holds up. Was it the actors that made it so great? Was it just Hitchcock that made it so great? It was. Mm-hmm. But did Anne Heche bring something different? Yeah. Did Vince Vaughn bring something different? Yeah. I mean, so that's what my theory about it is. Go ahead. I could give a shit. Just if you're going to do something totally different, that's great. If you're going to do something the exact same and show us different nuances, go ahead.
But if you're going to take something iconic, I get really
But what's
upset.
iconic?
What's iconic to different people? Like, I'm reminded of The Women, which is
That's
quite
on my
possibly.
list. But how many people our age or younger have seen the original?
I know
that are straight.
You know a lot of people because you know a lot of people our age and older.
I feel The Women, and The Women in just like the history of film. The Women is an iconic film.
It's hilarious.
I love it. It's an amazing film. It's certainly dated. They make Nazi jokes. So
she does. She said, "I'm going to go lie down in bed and sleep like a Nazi."
Spread out like a swastika.
Well, I wouldn't think that one suggested your personality at all. It's called, oomph. How amusing. It'll be out tomorrow, Mrs. Prowler. Fowler. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Fowler. I'm the impertinent little upstart. If she thinks I'm going to let her get away with that, she's got another thing.
Come on, you weren't exactly any little Pollyanna yourself. It's no wonder she called
That
on.
Prowler, really.
She's laughing at us. I know. I can see from here.
Well,
I believe she is.
She called me that deliberately. I'll have her fired. I'll go straight to the management this minute. I'll go with you.
And and it's sexist, and it's a reflection of the social mores in film at that time. But I mean, it's an amazing performance by lots of different amazing actresses, and then the remake
it's really funny.
was so painful, and so it took the spirit of the original and just. I feel like the people who made the remake didn't get the original.
It was almost more misogynistic.
It was made women look worse. And we're talking about like the original was 1939. We're talking about women that are talking about, if only you were pretty, your man wouldn't leave you, and you believe, and you're rooting for them. You're saying things
women,
like,
though.
yes, get some new nail polish. He'll come back.
But it's the same. But it's the same.
Make those
now.
pancakes, Barbara. And
it's not that different.
And I wanted to.
The updating of the dialogue made it even worse. And I think there's some great actresses in that film.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Annette Bening. Deborah Messing's funny. Candice Bergen, Carrie Fisher, Bette Midler,
Jada Pinkett.
I'll leave out Meg Ryan for you, but
So you are listing the actresses that are in the movie.
Cloris Leachman's in it.
And it's one of those ensemble films where really good people get into a room and just get like group retardation. Like they all lose the ability to do anything.
Eva, what's her name?
Ava Mendes.
She's in it. She was your example from Hispanic where she could play any.
She played the Joan Crawford role.
Ooh.
Let's contemplate that for just one moment.
What if
Joan Crawford's role played by Ava
But it's not
Mendes.
Joan Crawford's role. See, that's where your head's stuck in the remake.
That's where
it's
my
not
head is
Joan
stuck.
Crawford's role.
It's Joan Crawford's goddamn role.
It's the role.
And she will crawl out of her grave.
It's the role
to
of
snatch your
Crystal,
testicles.
and anybody can do it. And I think that's why in the theater people accept in the theater that
This place is playing Macbeth.
Jessica Lange
Othello.
can play. I was going to call her Stella McCartney. Blanche Dubois, or Vivian Leigh can play Blanche Dubois, or Jessica Tandy can play Blanche Dubois. They've all played it, and you all get your own nuances. And so on stage, we're okay with that. But on film, I don't know why we're so scared of that. Like, is it that iconic?
I think it's because you have such an emotional reaction to a film, and maybe that's not the same for everyone. I know when I watch a film, I have an immediate, visceral, emotional attachment. even if it's a bad one, to that film. And I feel like
There's a lot more components to a film than a play.
Yeah.
A film can hit you on so many different senses. You know, there's the music, there's the imagery. In the play, you rely so much on the performance, and that's what you're driven by. You're driven by that person on stage, giving it their all.
Well, of course, in theater, it's also like of the moment. With movies, for me, I don't know if a lot of other people, but there's sometimes where I'm in a bad mood, and I'll watch a movie to get me in a better mood. So that reaction you have to that movie, the fact that
and you certainly have
and
you have certain connections to certain actors too. I mean, I have a connection, and it's whole cliche, but I have a connection to Joan Crawford. I have, for good or bad. I love Joan Crawford, and I feel like
that explains
it's that idea
so
that like
much.
mom died, so
on BBC
dad's
now.
dating again, dad's cheating on mom, but mom's dead. Like it's
But
irrational.
did you see the remake of Mildred Pierce?
Yes.
Did you like that?
I liked it, and I felt like
It's a different beast.
I feel like they interpreted it
It's so long.
in a respectful. Like I feel like.
So
It's that idea that someone got there first, so you have to respect the person who got there first, right?
Why?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that this is rational.
I think there's that fight.
This is emotion.
To me, for the longest, I felt like you could say a purist about things, but now it's just like
Brenda.
they want to remake it. Why not? Let's
No,
see.
actually, my view on it is more often than not because you'll see classics remade and you'll see foreign films remade, and to me it's kind of a bummer because not just solely sorry because I'm a purist, but I would like people to seek out especially people my generation the original
that encourages them to watch the original.
When the
Not
women
always.
when the women came
But
out,
if you're a film fan,
this woman over here. When the women came out, I remember my friends going, "Let's go see it," and we all saw it. And it was terrible. And I was like, "I want to show you guys the original," and we watched it. So that's what I mean. Like, Rob's right. Not everyone's gonna go like, "That sucked." Let's watch the original. Like they're gonna be like, "That sucked," but the original sucks too.
A lot of people are like, "There was an original."
Well, like The Thing, which we've talked about many times. The remake came out. I could not wait to see it because I love the original. It was terrible. What did I do? I went and bought the original, because I wanted to be
Well,
reminded.
if you think about it, John Carpenter's The Thing, '82. That's one of my favorite films. It's a remake. It was originally made in
It is
the
too, yeah.
40s, I want to say. But I don't know. It's a remake. So that my whole thing is, if it works, it works. Because there are remakes where I was pleasantly surprised. But a lot of times, especially like with foreign films, it almost feels like they Americanized it or just kind of dumbed it down for this audience.
Not always.
Not always, but there's times it does
but yes,
happen.
there is often a film is watered down.
Not anymore, I don't think. I think that's an old statement. But this is a good question to pose. Is there a remake where you like the remake and the original?
Yes.
I spit on your grave.
Did you see the remake?
Oh yeah.
I didn't see it.
I didn't see the remake. I've seen the original.
I saw the original. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was.
yeah, I know.
It's some piece of
seriously, that was
trash.
honestly the worst rape scene I've ever seen. That was not a joke.
Or scenes, you mean?
And Stan's a big fan
Didn't-
of rape.
Didn't they
scenes.
just keep coming in?
Yeah.
No, it
You
was
know when
just
you
ridiculous.
Google that, the FBI makes a note.
Stop. Oh yeah.
Just saying.
Thanks, Obama.
Snowdan.
No, here's an example. Have any of you seen Fright Night?
Yeah.
The original and the remake?
Yeah, I haven't seen the remake.
I thought the remake was so much better than the original.
To an extent, yes, I can agree with you on
'Cause
that one. I was so pleasantly surprised with the remake. My
Tony
sister, my brother,
Collette's in
and I,
it, and-
yeah, my sister, my brother, and I, we got passes, and it was even in 3D. And you know how I feel about 3D; it's kind of give or take. The three of us loved it. We enjoyed it. We laughed. We were scared, and the 3D worked. I was really impressed, and I love the original.
I think what happened for me, the original just didn't take the test of time. I had recently rewatched the original
It's
before
very
I watched.
80s.
Oh, it doesn't hold because you watch something like La Caja Falls, The Thing, the original Thing, Let the Right One In. Those hold the test of time. So as a film, I think they're still quality films to see how they are remade. But Fright Night, it was a terrible 80s movie that just didn't hold up.
It's like, I guess you can say like a popcorn film or a cult classic, but it has a following. And I'm not a huge
fair enough.
I'm not a huge fan of the original. I like the original, but still when I saw the remake, I was like, we're being lazy, recycling another one. But when I saw it, like I said, it totally changed my mind, and I was impressed with it. So for remakes in general, if they work, they work.
I like to challenge your comment about making a remake, because to me it implies that you're saying by making a remake, it's because they're too lazy to come up with something original.
In certain instances, I feel like it.
Did you ever see the Russian remake of 12 Angry Men? 12?
No.
I thought it was an interesting way to take an American film and remake it, but in Russian. It's the exact same premise, but the premise only worked because of, you have the social discourse between all these different people, and it's an amazing film, equally as intense as the original 12 Angry Men. That it's like, didn't the Coen brothers have a remake of Blood Simple?
Yes.
They made a Korean remake of that?
Oh, they did?
No. They originally made Blood Simple, but there was a Korean remake of Blood Simple.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
That recently came out.
Yeah,
I gotta say,
I adore Blood Simple.
I need a pen. What?
I gotta say.
No, yeah, a Korean...
It was like a man, a woman, and something
at
shop.
a noodle shop.
At a noodle shop, yeah.
And Carrie the Japanese. I don't know what they're talking about.
Funny enough, I've
Sudoku.
kind of caught sometimes. There's like foreign remakes of American films, and sometimes they end up being better.
I just saw Dangerous Liaisons came up. It's an Asian remake of Dangerous Liaisons. I would love that. So,
Funny games.
You just kill us. You shouldn't forget the importance of entertainment. You shouldn't have done that, Anne.
Keep me safe all through the night.
Don't get me started on Funny Games.
Funny
I
Games.
adore both for different reasons. The first one is so gritty and dirty, and the remake is so clean.
It's shot for shot.
Oh, yeah. But in Naomi Watts, I adore in her usual intensity, of course, she chose that part, said how difficult it was because you would have to hold your head in the frame the way he did it in the movie. Your head had to be in the frame the way the other actress held her head in the frame. The only difference is her top was off, if you notice that. They didn't take the top off in the German. It's German, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, Americanizing it made it more disturbing to me. Because there's something about, sorry Germans, but I've seen a lot of German movies. I've seen a lot of German movies, and they're rough. And so I just expected it to be rough. And the American one...
Well, they're known to be such a kind and cuddly culture.
But when the American one, you see that, it's disturbing, and they're these blonde...
And it's all implied violence, which is...
Yeah, you never see what you want to see.
I get that, though. When you remake, in foreign films or remake back and forth, how, you do that for, like, the subtle... like you said, cultural nuances in this case.
What's interesting, like House of Cards, which was a very intense British film miniseries, made into an intense American miniseries, and how it took those British ideas and Americanized them, and really added that American nuance. And if you saw the American version, you'd see the British version, and you'd see the similarities, but then you see where they diverge.
Which I think you've read the books. Mm-hmm. So you're curious about how they're going to adapt season 2 because you feel it's going to be so different.
Right.
So,
but it makes me excited because of what they did with the first book.
You feel that they're up for the challenge.
I'm thinking because the second book's going to be a challenge to adapt, and then they did it so well for the first season that I trust it. I'm looking forward to it. And that's something, the original House of Cards is something I love. I've seen it 1,000 times. I had an emotional attachment to it. So I was really, really wary when I first saw the Kevin Spacey trailer. I said, "Don't you dare screw this up!"
And it was so good.
And it was because it respected the original, but it lived in that universe, but wasn't the same.
So what was that question you asked Curtis earlier? The question you were going to judge us with?
Oh no, you guys answered it. It was really just what was one that really the remake was just as good. Like you were just talking about House of Cards, and I think me, the Thomas Crown Affair. I love the original, so good, and it's action packed, but it's more like my dad's generation, where it's a little slower. It's a little more like the rough guy in the suit. Steve McQueen was kind of like a dusty around the edges kind of guy, so it's kind of cool to see him in a suit. And Faye Dunaway, of course, at her prettiest, and all about the costumes and the nails and the hair and the music, and it was very glossy and stylish. And the remake was a little more Bond because it was Pierce Brosnan, but Rene Russo's amazing in that film, and it's kind of the
There's something you don't hear every day.
I know. No, she is. I mean, she's kind of undervalued. Not in that film, she's underrated. No, in the film, she's great.
In the film, she's good.
She's great. Yeah, I'm not saying in general now.
I'm going to toss a few titles out here for the
Top
list.
me.
of a list of some of the films that the interwebs said that some of the best remakes and some of the worst. And I'd like to hear what you guys each thought. Just
Psycho,
quick.
greatest one ever.
We got 10 minutes left, so
Oh,
I just
God.
want to see how quickly we can knock some of these out. The Birdcage, which was a remake of La Cage aux Folles. What did you guys think?
I love The Birdcage. I haven't seen the original, so I can't.
Have never seen the originals.
I think it does justice to the original.
Yes.
And and The Producers too is another remake that I think the remake is not as good as the original, but I think it still stands up. I think
But
it's
that's different. The Producers is based on the musical, not necessarily the original movie.
Well, it's two movies made based on the same source material.
Movie,
then
musical on
musical,
Broadway,
and
then movie of the musical.
And then the Korean version, which really threw me off.
Uma.
Dawn of the Dead, the 2004 version.
I like both.
Mm-hmm.
I love both.
Yeah, that's another instance where, it's the same kind of story, but there's differences. But I think either one works.
And also bonus points for using Richard Cheese in the soundtrack.
Oh yes.
And Zack Snyder's best movie.
Yes.
Richard Cheese, that's filthy.
And Bob Dylan's in the title sequence.
Our opening clip, it was from Christopher Nolan's Insomnia. What did you guys think of that one?
I've never seen the original.
I've never seen the original either.
I like
it's really slow and foreign.
Yeah, I like both. I mean, I think they you're right, the first one's kind of slow and foreign, but I liked it. I liked both instances. There wasn't one where I was like, oh, that was horrible. I actually saw the original first and went and rewatched the original one with Stellan Skarsgård.
How about The Departed?
I haven't seen the original.
Oh, but it's funny too because most people forget that The Departed is a remake, and I want to say, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the first remake ever to win Best Picture.
I'm not sure.
So we'll have to go back on that.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Wikipedia.
It's based on internal affairs, right?
Infernal
Affairs. Cape Fear. I've never seen the original.
The original's fantastic.
It's the original's
good.
Slow and foreign.
Yes,
yeah.
But
the original it has its quality. I mean, it has its interesting.
I just
moments.
rewatched it, and what I thought was really cool about it was how sexual it is, and just
the original. Or
no, the remake. The original is stuff bland. It's like, oh, I'm the wife, and I'm very boring. This one's like it's Jessica Lange, so there's no way it's gonna be boring, and she's horny as ever in that film. Her husband.
In the original or
remake? No, the remake. The husband has cheated on her, Nick Nolte. And what does she do? She flirts with getting a gun. She's like, in case things get wild around here, because there's a rapist on the loose. So that's what you think about. Then when she meets Robert De Niro, she's kind of flirting with him. And then at the end, she's basically like, I know what you're going through. Rape me. There's so many weird sexual things in that movie that it makes it way better than the original.
Yeah. Would you consider Silence of the Lambs a remake?
No.
Because it's a remake of Manhunter.
No, Red Dragon's a remake.
I mean, Red Dragon's. Oh, never mind. Oh, I'm losing my mind.
And that's interesting too.
Because when you said the first remake to win an Oscar, I thought of Silence of the Lambs, but it isn't. It's a sequel to Manhunter.
I don't know if this is on your list, but I do want to bring up. I wouldn't say I hate the remake, but I don't think it worked for me as opposed to the original Vanilla Sky versus.
Oh, that's right. That's kind of what spurred the whole topic. I love them both. I love both versions. Open Your Eyes and
Abre los ojos.
Abre los ojos.
Abre los ojos. Open your eyes.
Is that Korean?
That movie is when I fell in love with Penelope Cruz. I think she's fantastic in both.
I fell in love with Alejandro Almodóvar.
Yeah.
Did he end up doing the others?
Yes.
And something else.
And Agora and The Sea Inside.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, the Vanilla Sky, I didn't hate it. I was,
I liked it a lot.
But to me, I love the original. One comparison, spoiler alert or whatever, the suicide scene in Vanilla Sky, they're a lot more dramatic about it, and not to say that in Spain they condone suicide or whatever, but they were just when they were laying everything back to him, how everything went down, they're like, yeah, and he committed suicide. And in Vanilla Sky, it was almost like it's such an unthinkable thing for Americans, or in this context, they were like such a big thing.
We're not very romantic.
they just kept explaining, because you felt like this and because of that, you committed suicide, and it was like I remember the music being like really dramatic, and I think it was like way too much about like this is a Tom Cruise vehicle.
I connect with that movie a lot. I think the pop culture references are really subtle.
I do
and
like.
So they kind of
in Vanilla Sky.
Yes, Vanilla Sky.
I don't think they're subtle. I think they're
yeah. And then
you have to know them.
The use of To Kill a Mockingbird. I think it's possibly Cameron Diaz's best performance ever. It's fantastic. Tilda Swinton's got a great creepy role in it, which she always makes everything better.
Which is something you hear every day.
Yeah, that is something. Yeah, I think it's. I don't know why, but here I don't remember if you speak Spanish.
I do.
Okay, I wonder if that changed it because when I saw Abre los Ojos, it didn't grip me the way Vanilla Sky did. That's the only reason I watched it. See, I saw a remake. The original, but it just I did maybe because sometimes the subtitles are not good, and sometimes you don't get what's actually happening.
That's funny that you mentioned that.
I had a friend tell me that would Let the Right One In.
When I saw Abre los Ojos, it was at Rice Cinema, and it was me, my father, my sister, and like a handful of people. One of the first things they translate is the opening scene when I forgot the character's name, but he's leaving the house. He's basically telling the woman he just slept with, don't mess with my alarm clock, because in both movies that's exactly the same. You hear Abre los ojos or open your eyes, because she recorded over his alarm clock. In Spanish, in the Spanish version, he literally says, don't do it because it touches my balls. But and we were the only ones that were laughing, but they translated it pisses me off, which basically is what he's trying to say with it touches my balls.
Yeah. But it makes different. It's a different tone.
Yeah, that wouldn't translate well.
I don't think the translations would hurt the difference between one or the other.
I have a friend who is from Norway, and she said Let the Right One In. She said that when she saw the subtitled one, she said it messed up. Because I saw it and I was like, I didn't quite get it. She's like, I saw this and she said we had the subtitles on for Friends and it may not make any sense if you read those subtitles. That's probably why the remake is so good.
I have to disagree on that one. I love the original.
Well, before we start wrapping up, Curtis remind me about Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is
all of our Swedish.
I was literally gonna go. You said Let the Right One In. I was like, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Literally remade less than a decade.
I think it is I don't mean to put down the other one. It's a vastly better, superior film. It's better. It's
the
better
Swedish
acted
is better
than the
than
American.
Oh, the American.
It's acted better. It's performed better. After reading the books, it's a better interpretation of the vision of what was going on. It's rougher. It's yes, it has more money, so a lot of people are like, oh, it's all glossy and stuff like that, but. It's David Fincher's wonderful, and Rooney Mara, strangely enough, in that part is fantastic.
Yeah,
there's nothing intimidating about her, and that's what makes her so.
and Daniel Craig,
he was actually good. I wish he would have used a Swedish accent, though. I know it's such a simple thing, but everyone else is Swedish. Even Robin Wright had a Swedish accent.
That's what I don't like about American remakes is like everybody's got different accents. And it doesn't work. I understand,
It was remakes easy that are foreign.
It was just subtle, but it was kind of like, man.
I have to disagree. I didn't hate the David Fincher one. When it was coming out, I was like, really, America? But I ended up liking it more than I thought I would. To me, it doesn't hold a candle to the original Swedish one, though.
No, because it's lighting the candle for the Swedish one because it's so hot.
Woo! Whatever. www.whatever.com.
I got to.
That candle burned somebody. I don't know.
Now, to wrap it up, what's your worst remake? What remake do you hate the most? To me, sorry, I want to give you some time. You look like you're.
No, I had one.
Okay, go ahead. Tooting.
No, it's an interesting. I Am Legend was one that was really disappointing to me because I really liked The Omega Man, which is also a remake of The Last Man on Earth. Vincent Price was remade with Charlton Heston and then remade with Will Smith as I Am Legend, and that was 2007. The Charlton Heston version was 1964, and it had a lot more social commentary. It was much truer to the book, the Richard Matheson book, which I really enjoyed.
Who just died.
Yeah. And then, it's one of those remakes that kind of remade it and made it flashy, better sound effects, better CGI, but lost and maybe kind of a World War Z-ish kind of way, lost the spirit of the original, which was a social commentary about the dehumanization and humanization of this race of zombies, and so that was really completely missing from the Will Smith remake. So I was really disappointed.
The original, it was topical at the time when it was released.
It's still pretty topical.
I think it was still pretty topical. This idea of man, what is the definition of humanity? I think that's a pretty universal topic.
But I'm glad you said yours because mine is the Stepford Wives, and it's the same thing. The social commentary still would have worked nowadays, and instead you screwed yourself by. It's the same thing with the women. Like when you think that we're past women being treated differently, and you think it's a joke.
You're missing the point.
You're missing the point. We're not quite past it yet. That's why it's still relevant. That's why you're still making the women. That's why you're still making the Stepford Wives.
Yeah.
And they forgot the fact that the original Stepford Wives is funny and scary and kind of a social commentary. You could have all three.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows the plot really closely, but it ruins it with stuff like the scene where they all meet each other in the original. They just, hey, how are you? We're neighbors. And this one, it's like, oh my God, aren't you Bobby Markowitz who wrote that great book? Yeah. Oh my God, aren't you that gay architect who was in the New York Times? I am. Wow. I was like, Jesus. It's like they're holding up their signposts.
That's kind of how I felt about Vanilla Sky. I don't think it's a completely terrible movie, but it would have to be my worst remake because I felt it was all like, I'm Tom Cruise. There's a lot of Tom Cruise films that I
like
actually
I'm
enjoy.
Cameron
I wish everyone could see
I'm Tom Cruise.
the winning the touchdown. I'm Tom Cruise stance that Brenda just hit. That was
no,
awesome.
very good points. They're too obvious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Robert?
Mine's just there's this little British comedy called Death at a Funeral that I loved,
yeah.
that little small film.
So cute.
And then Chris Rock and company decided to remake it, and as a film, it just didn't work. And poor Peter Dinklage came along for the ride as a paycheck for the second one.
Do you play the same character?
Yeah, he played the same character. No, it just didn't. It didn't work at all. And I felt like the situations that the original was put in seemed plausible, even as far-fetched as they were. It just seemed like...
But they were very British situated. Like, it was very much about propriety and family. It just... Americans don't seem to be concerned.
You had to see it on a date?
No.
The remake?
No. But I do hear Paula Deen didn't like the remake. Just saying.
To quote Paula Deen, this movie is about as... Never mind.
Paula Deen.
Well, that's us closing out today's episode. Thank you, everybody.
They're going to remake this podcast and recast us.
They should. Shot for shot. Tilda Swinton can play Curtis.
Yes! She could.
I want Parker Posey to play me.
Oh.
My luck, I'll get John Travolta to play me.
In drag.
I guess I'd claim America Ferrara.
She's cute.
I got different reactions, like, oh, and then you're like, what?
We're trying not to be
like, no, you're like, don't insult me.
It was wonderful. End it, Rob.
All right, and we're closing it out, Juliette Lewis.
Vineyard to support themselves. It's kind of a nice gift.
I think so. I wouldn't turn down a Vineyard.
For real?
Did Nicolas Cage get one?
No, because he's her cousin.
Oh.
And he changed his last name.
And he's terrible.
That's why he has to keep doing all those movies, because he didn't get a vineyard.
There you go.
So is that why Roman Coppola waits 15 years to make his movies?
Oh, that's right.
That vineyard's doing well.
That vineyard, maybe his is.
He's walking in tall grapes.
I watched a kind of interesting movie the other night. I was really excited. It was called The Seventh Victim. Sometimes you put things on your Netflix queue, and I don't reorder it. I just see whatever comes next. And
I should try that.
It's kind of fun. Like, you never know, because do you ever get that Netflix anxiety where you're like, oh my God, what am I getting next? And I gotta do my list, and I go, oh, this one's very long wait, and so I just like whatever comes my way comes my way. So it's called The Seventh Victim. I'm totally forgotten the director, Val Newton, whatever. But it's from the 40s. It's a horror movie, and I'll say this: it's not as good as I wanted it to be, but for its time, it was really good. And it's about a sister.
Real life and just how she presented it and everything.
Yeah, I love Sofia Coppola. I think we talked about this, how much I was gonna call you Rob, how much Jordan hates her. I really adore her. I think she's great, but all the things that people think bad about her, that's what Somewhere is. So it's like the slow.
I'm going to run out and get that. I want to have a Terrence Malick, Sofia Coppola film festival.
Honestly, it's kind of like that. I mean, but
while I'm bleeding
excited
in a
for the
bathtub
bling
so it
ring.
doesn't clot.
Such sweet imagery.
Drama queen.
So that explains why they do it in the bathtub. I never knew that.
Oh, it doesn't. Blood doesn't clot underwater.
I got
I learned one thing in nursing school.
Oh, that's right.
It doesn't. No.
Like that's the one thing that you.
For those of you who are curious,
Well,
just in case.
Curtis and I ran into a young fella who loved that movie, and he felt that it spoke to him. Bling ring.
Bling ring?
He felt it spoke to him because I'm a child of the
2000s.
2000s
Of the aughts.
who at her school they very curtly tell her that her tuition has not been paid and her sister's missing, and you have to start working for your tuition. And she's like, well, can I look for my sister? And they're like, go ahead. But so she goes to look for her sister, and everybody knows of her sister, but nobody knows where she is. And they know the sister was involved with some group, but they don't know what the group was. And she starts meeting people in the group, and they're weirdos. And it did a lot with shadows. It did a lot with, excuse me. It did a lot with, it was very effective for the time. It was definitely interesting. But, yeah, I'd be interested to see if Jenny saw it. I didn't want to see.
It's funny that you mentioned that about Netflix. When I had it, there'd be sometimes where I get a movie, and I was like, when the hell did I order this, and what the hell was I thinking?
I do it all the time. And Rob has a good theory. Like, if you're not going to watch it in the first couple of days, just send it back. Like, you're not going to watch it.
Yeah, that's true, because I've held on to a movie for weeks and not watched it, and then finally it was
You
just
have
so-
that guilt. You're just like, I'm
I
paying for
ordered
this.
this.
Yeah.
Netflix is.
We just have to think of a place where he could have taken the body.
Where'd you take her? I mean, she died in the cabin, right?
Yeah.
So where'd you take her to clean her up?
You don't want to think about that, Will. This is tough enough for you already.
Well, it was an accident, right?
I didn't mean to kill her, Will. You know that, don't you?
And that was a clip from the 2002 release Insomnia, directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Al Pacino and Robin Williams. This is Movies the Podcast, and I'm Rob.
This is Brenda.
This is Curtis.
And this is Jordan.
Well, guys, let's play a little catch-up before we get to our topic.
What are we catching up on?
It's been a while, so we're all kind of out of it.
Well, I recently watched The Bling Ring.
She gets right into it.
I'm excited about
What
this.
did you think?
I liked it. I mean, this is all except for Somewhere, which I haven't seen.
Not good.
I've pretty much seen all her films. Pretty much seen all of her films. Somewhere didn't get a good rap. I still have to watch it, so I can't tell you what I think. But I like this one, and the story, and I mean, it's based on.
That makes me vomit. I'm sorry.
He's not a child of 2000, by the way, but he sure thought he was. So
Did he kind of realize it was almost?
No, because
Kind
he's
of
not
just
smart
putting
enough.
these people on display. I don't think a lot of people realize that because
They're self-involved.
Yeah, exactly.
He put it on the same pedestal as Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Does he realize Mean Girls is a comedy?
No, maybe not to him. He thinks it's a Bible.
It's like, oh my god, this is my life.
I did have a good comeback for him, but anyways, trust me, he didn't get by unscathed.
I want to see it, but at the same time, I don't know. She's been hit or miss with me, but and I don't think we've mentioned her name, Sofia Coppola.
Yeah.
Her wine is fantastic, by the way. I drink her wine.
He drinks any
the
wine.
little cans.
Well, no, that one is more like her white wine. She has a rosé. Her dad gave the children vineyards as gifts, so like.
Mine did too.
No, so if they.
I got one for my bar mitzvah.
So like if they were ever like broke, they would have a